Hello there everyone. I wanted to do a short preview of the new user interface for self-loading cargo version 1.6, which I have been working on for way too long now. I know all of you are waiting. It's almost there, but there are a few little things I need to iron out. But I can give you sort of a quick overview of how the new interface works. I'm not going to go into any detail about how the new vocal interaction works. That'll be a separate video. But just a quick overview of the interface and how you interact with the software now. So the first thing you will notice is the SLC window. It's very small. In fact, you can make it smaller, or you can make it larger, because a lot of people like the information panel, but a lot of people don't like the information panel, and so I decided to kind of make a combination of the two, where you can turn off what you want to see and position everything where you would like to place it on a different monitor or whatever. But fundamentally, the purpose of the 1.6 update is to increase the level of interactivity between you and the cabin crew, as opposed to relying on sort of text interface to see what's going on. You should be able to ask the cabin crew what's going on and she'll tell you. If you want the information via text, then so be it, you can get it, but ultimately you are also able to turn it all off and just have this small window with the tannoy that you know and love. Now in this one you do have 4 channels. You have ground crew aren't connected at the moment. We have an intercom for communicating directly with the cabin crew over the aircraft intercom system, without obviously the passengers hearing. They're actually using a handset. We have a PA system, so you can broadcast to the cabin crew or to the passengers if you want to do a flight announcement. And there's also a phone where you can sort of communicate outside of the aircraft. That will be in next update, but I've already implemented it in version 1.6, ready for the upgrades that are coming after that releases. So I'll give you just like I say, you can move it wherever you like. You can scale it up and down. But basically, what SLC now is this little communication device down here. But if you want to access all of the other information about the flight, and obviously the in-flight services, etc., all you do is click on the button and the toolbar appears with all the icons that you used to have on the main flat panel. And what you have, you'll notice here, we have a flight information panel here. We have the current door configuration. That is a jetway attachment there. I'll go into this in more detail in a minute. Obviously a seatbelt sign, and that is that. I'm in the fly-by-wire here. You can see that kind of interacts with self-loading cargo. Now, it always did, but it was dependent on the aircraft. So you don't actually need to use that on the interface now unless the aircraft doesn't support it. I also have in-flight services button here and the aircraft layout panel here. We have a question mark here, which is for when you're in voice communication mode and you want to know what it is that you can say. You can pop open a window which will show you the available interactions with the cabin crew at that particular time, depending on what's happening on the aircraft. We have this button here, which is to open the narration window, so that this was primarily developed for deaf users of self-loading cargo, so they can sort of see a historical narration of what's been said between the cabin crew, the pilot and the ground crew, and basically see what's going on without having to hear the interactions, if you see what I mean. Open the flight logs as normal, a settings panel, just a debug interaction panel that I've set up for myself, and a close button, close or restart flight. Now what happens when you can drag it around and the toolbar will follow wherever you put it, and also when you click on these buttons, let's see what happens. So we have this information panel here. If I click on that, it pops into position, and that will follow the window around. It can be scaled independently just by mousing over the button and scaling it up or down, so you can basically make it whatever size you like. But also, interestingly, you can drag it away. You can go and put it somewhere else. You can put it on another screen if you want it, and now obviously dragging the toolbar away and collapsing it down, you've still got this panel out here. But if I want it back and I want it attached to the self-loading cargo window again, all I need to do is just drag it into position and it puts itself back, and now it's attached. And that's the same for all the other interactive windows that you can appear. So you can have the seatbelt sign shown sorry, you can have the door management shown. You can have the in-flight services shown in a different place on another monitor somewhere. You can have the flight progress shown on a different monitor somewhere, or not at all. And that was the whole goal of it. So this flight progress panel here that you're seeing, you can see that we're actually in pre-flight mode, where we were expecting 179 passengers. Not checked in, because Self-Loading Cargo 1.6 is simulating a basic check-in facility, so that passengers actually have to book into the terminal and book themselves into the terminal and wait for the aircraft. If you start a flight, say 15 minutes before departure, they will all be already checked in, and you won't have to wait. But as it stands right now, our flight isn't for another 12 hours and 23 minutes, so no one's checked in. And over the course of time, when it gets to about 2 hours before departure, they will actually start checking in. And the same with the aircraft loading. That's expected in 15 hours 19 minutes. So basically 3 hours after check-in opens, they'll have the bags and they'll be starting to load the aircraft. And our departure is in 15 hours 48 minutes. So we're on schedule, but like I say, no one's loaded in. The passenger satisfaction, that is always there, and the current pressing need, so you can actually see at a glance what people are needing from the cabin crew, what's upsetting them, whatever. But this panel here on the where it's saying pre-flight, that actually changes, so that will show relevant information based on the current stage of the flight. So obviously the check-in data and the boarding and the loading and stuff, that's irrelevant as the flight continues. But when you're in flight, it will actually tell you the expected arrival time, whether you're running late, etc., etc. And again, once you've landed, it will show the landing data. So if you've got it somewhere on a different screen, you can see your landing rate, obviously in real time, like you always could. But if you choose not to have it displayed, then you have the option to turn it off as well. I just turned the seatbelts on there. There we go. So that's the panel as it always was. There's a little bit of work left to do, just to tidy it up a little bit. But as we move on to the door functionality, again, this is another window that you can just you can put wherever you like. At the moment, there is a little bit of work left to do on this interface, but these buttons are not clickable because we are in jetway mode. I actually have a jetway attached at the moment. And in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you can't actually manipulate the jetways manually from within applications that are connected via FSU IPC. So for that reason, it's saying that the doors are simulator controlled, and it's synced with the simulator via FSU IPC read only. And the doors are the expectation is they should be disarmed. The cabin crew are not supposed to have armed the doors. These labels really are for my reference. There is a little bit more work to do around this, so that it sort of is more obvious that you're in jetway mode and you can't actually do anything with the doors. But for the development purposes, this has sort of been getting me through and making sure everything works fine. Just a case of point, if I middle click this button down here, you'll see that it's changed to crew controlled, so it's not synchronized with the simulator, but it is crew controlled, so I'm not able to control the doors. So the cabin crew will take care of opening and closing the doors whenever is appropriate. Say after we finished boarding, they'll close the doors. If I was to put it into fully manual mode by right clicking this again, you can see the green icon's gone out. And obviously that icon's changed to doors. You can see I am actually in pilot controlled mode. It's not synchronized with the simulator, and I can actually click on the doors to open or close them. The red ones are the ones that are open. These are the disarmed doors, and these ones are armed. They're currently, that's a loading bay and catering bay. They're actually they're in armed status, so they're green, because obviously that's what you want for flight. You want a visual notification of or the status of the doors. But like I said, there's still a little bit of sort of nice interface work to do on this, just to make it maybe an icon of a jetway or something, just so you can actually see I'm in jetway mode. And I think probably one of the things I'd like to do is, rather than having this convoluted little interface of right clicking and middle clicking, I'll leave that there, but it would be nice to have a little button. So if you're in jetway mode, have a button that says switch to manual mode or switch to crew automated mode, so it's clear that that is actually what's happening. but that won't take too much long to do. It's already all working. It just needs the interface on this section is just needing a little bit of a clear up. And on that note, this actually illustrates something that I want to say, because on the previous interface, which was just kind of the single panel, it was getting quite difficult to fit things into this into the interface, because it was quite thin and it was sort of limited in where the controls could go. Whereas now that I've completely changed everything and made it totally modular, this is actually reading the status of sort of the core engine behind self-loading cargo, so I can choose how to display the information however I like, and the window can be whatever size I need it to be for that particular function. But what it also means is that there's actually code exposed that can be used on external devices. So if I wanted to have this door management panel on an iPad, it's just a case of writing a small interface to interact with self-loading cargo, and that's entirely possible because I'm already doing it for this little window here. So that's the door management basically. Again, we can sort of reattach it if we want, and these can be closed independently, and they stay open as well while the interface is closed. And again, you can scale it up and down or whatever and place it wherever you like on whatever screen. I'll close that down, and got the same thing with what am I going to do now? I've got the in-flight services again. This is now showing how many services that was scheduled for each service type. This was done during the flight setup, which I kind of skipped past for this video. But basically you can see what services are scheduled for this flight, and you can just sort of right click to put it into automated mode as always. Again, you can drag it away, you can put it somewhere else. So if you always want that open and you want to put it in a manual mode and click the in-flight services, you can see how many services are available. The buttons will become available, and then you can just trigger a service if people are thirsty and you feel like you want to serve them some drinks. Dead simple. We have cabin music. This is reading from your sound pack folder. You can have unlimited, and you can choose whether you want to randomize them or whatever. You can do that in settings, but ideally there'll be a checkbox on here to say randomize the sounds and a volume slider, just to keep it so that you don't have to keep going into the settings window, because the settings window is it's a little bit rubbish, to be honest, and it would be nice to kind of think, I want to turn the music down a bit or turn it up a bit. Shall I ask the cabin crew, or shall I go into the interface and do it myself? Same with toilets, they're all locked at the moment. There's no one on board, and the Wi-Fi is just sitting there simulating itself, as it always did. Sorry, I should have made that a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on. But again, just drag it back on the interface and it'll reposition itself, and then close it down. The aircraft layout, that is in its own window. That can't actually be docked to the main window because it is its kind of own thing. You can interact with the doors from here if you're in a mode that allows you to interact with the doors. You can select each cabin crew and see where they're heading, what they're up to. When the passengers are on board, obviously you can click on them. I don't have any on board at the moment, but basically when you click on them, this whole panel expands at the bottom, and you can there's different actions that you can perform. Essentially in 1.6 there is a virtual cabin going on. They will ding for assistance, and then the cabin crew, if they're not busy with another task, they will attend the passenger and they'll run through all the different interactivities randomly. So if a passenger's thirsty, they're more inclined to be asking for a drink. If they're hungry, they'll ask for food or whatever, but they might ask for duty free, they might ask when we're landing, etc., etc. But it all takes time away from the cabin crew and the availability of them to interact with the passengers elsewhere. So if you've got a particularly busy flight, you might find that the cabin crew are also very busy interacting with the passengers, and it might take a little while when you summon the cabin crew to the intercom for them to actually attend. Although I do have it set so that they will prioritize you over the passengers, so if you do ring them, then obviously she should come pretty promptly. But again, it depends on this layout. On this, we're in A320 at the moment. There are two intercoms here, and you can see where is the purser. She's there, so she's quite near that intercom, so it wouldn't take her too long to get to it. But if she's in the middle of the plane, she might go to the back, she might go to the front, and if you ask her to perform certain actions, she will be going back and forward to the galley areas, wherever they are on the plane, and that determines how long it takes for a service to be provided. So if you ask her for a drink, and she's at the back of the plane, she's going to have to walk all the way at the front to bring it to you, and then go all the way back to perform the task. And by that time, if she was dealing with a passenger and you interrupted that passenger will get a little bit annoyed. But yeah, that's not really interface related, but it's something pretty cool that self-loading cargo has built in, and it goes for everything, like all of the different interactions. Like if there's a medical issue, if the purser goes away from that patient, and it takes a while to get back if they're quite far away. So that kind of simulation is always running in real time. And again, with this, getting back to the interface stuff, you can sort of scale it to your screen. I have actually made it so that this window fits perfectly on a 16:9 ratio screen, whereas before it was a little bit out of shape. So whatever screen you have, you can actually make this sort of full screen if you wanted a full screen of all of your passengers. And again, you can flick through and you can scroll through all of the cabin crew if you got many. And if your plane has multiple decks, buttons will appear so that you can view both decks, the top deck or the lower deck as well. So that's the aircraft layout. Pretty normal compared to what you were previously used to, I suppose. So the next thing really, and I've been in voice mode all this time, and she hasn't actually picked up on anything. In fact, I'm going to open up the aircraft layout again, and I'm going to say SLC intercom. You see she's heading towards us now.
Hello, Captain.
Right, so she's waiting at the intercom for me to answer her. And if I click on the tannoy icon, you can see the intercom's waiting for an interaction. If I click on it, it will show all of the interactions that are available at this moment in time on the flight. So I can ask her, like, obviously how long it is until the passengers will be coming aboard. I can ask her how it's going generally, or I can say, I'll call you back.
No problem.
And then she'll disappear. But what if I didn't know what to say? Well, that's where this little icon here comes in, this question mark, because what that does is it opens up a little window here. If I turn voice interaction off just by middle clicking, it says voice interaction is currently turned off. If I turn it back on, it says no interactions are available at the moment. And I can do that by voice as well. If I'm in voice mode and I forget what I can say SLC, what can I say? And it pops up in the window. But just to illustrate what that's for, when I summon her back, it will actually say the types of things that she's expecting to hear from me. And how that works is, it's kind of context sensitive. So if it knows that I'm doing an interaction with the passengers, then it will respond to me saying something like ladies and gentlemen, and then obviously it'll show the available commands for, in fact I'll just show you, ladies and gentlemen. So you see it switched to PA system there, but there aren't any interactions at the moment because there's no passengers on board. But it's as if I kind of click the PA system button by voice. And again, if I say the intercom keyword, it's as if I've clicked the intercom button. So SLC intercom. Oops, SLC intercom. It's awaiting a response. So those buttons will appear again as soon as she's picked up the phone.
Captain.
But basically she's expecting to hear one of these commands, and they correspond to these buttons. And again, this I can kind of drag onto the interface if I want to. As I got to do it at the moment. There we go. So that's attached. If I want to close that down, again, that can kind of run around with me, or I can put it somewhere else, just out of the way. I tend to have it in the top left hand corner because it just disappears out of sight when I'm not using it. But she's waiting for a response here, and she's waiting for one of these commands, and as you can see, they correspond to the actual interactions that are available on the tannoy. So if I say, how long will it be before boarding starts?
We're not expecting boarding to happen for quite some time. Check the departure time, it's quite a way off.
Thank you. And then she's away again. So it's as simple as that, really, and that is the kind of interface that I wanted to go for. So I can just be sat like this, and then I can say, well, I can actually turn this off. Oops. If I turn this off, and I can just say SLC intercom. and then it's ringing until she picks up. Just pretend I'm kind of flying the aircraft at the moment.
Hello, Captain.
How's it going?
We've spoken to the terminal, but check-in hasn't even started yet, so it looks like we've still got a while to go yet.
No problem. And I didn't even have to touch self-loading cargo. There was no interruption on the screen. It was as if I was kind of talking to the cabin crew in the meantime. And like I say, everything that appears on these lists is context sensitive. So if you can do a cruise announcement, it will display. And I'll go into another video of that as well, because they are now complex in that each announcement can have multiple phases. So if you have, for instance, a cruise announcement, you might be saying, I hope you're enjoying the flight. We are running a little late, but we're going to do our best to make it, to put it right by going a little bit quicker. We're currently travelling at 37,000 feet, etc. So there's a lot of different commands that can make up one announcement, rather than having just sort of one sound for each announcement. You know, you can have 5 or 6 little events that happen for each announcement, and it's the same for when you're welcoming them on board. You might say good evening, good night. It's all context sensitive. But also, that was just the voice activation mode. If I wanted to do it via the digital sounds that you can record within your sound pack, you can basically do it as you always had. You can just click on the intercom, wait for them to arrive. And although I'm in voice mode, it's kind of it's expecting a command from me, but I can just click through it and say that one there.
How long do you think it'll be before we can start boarding?
We're not expecting boarding to happen for quite some time. Check the departure time, it's quite a way off.
Thank you.
Or again, you can put it into fully automated mode, and it will sort of run through the whole cabin crew talking to the pilot scenario for everything that for every sort of section of flight. It kind of follows a storyline that you can basically just interact with and interject into to make it different each time. And there are variations on all of these sounds. So now in version 1.6 there's over 2,000 individual sounds, but there's only, I think there's about 400 separate events at the moment. But each event can have multiple sounds that play. So if you say hello, they might say hi or hello there, something like that, just to kind of give it a little bit of variation, so it doesn't feel like you're just speaking to a robot all the time. And one cool thing in 1.6 is that the pilot and cabin crew, they're actually separated from the airline sound pack. So if you want to create a Lufthansa sound pack, you can also create a French pilot. You can create a Greek cabin crew, or a UK cabin crew, or an Irish captain, and mix and match. So if you're flying for Aer Lingus and you've got an Aer Lingus sound pack, you might have an Irish pilot, but you might have a French cabin crew if you're coming from Paris or something like that. But again, the default that Self-Loading Cargo ships with is my voice, and also that digital captain that you've just heard, and the cabin crew is a synthesized voice, but you are able to put your own voices. So if there are any cabin crew out there who fancy making a nice sound pack for Self-Loading Cargo, please feel free to get in touch, and I'm sure we could work something out. But again, you've got the option there, and that also means that you can translate it into different languages. The entirety of the voice packs and sound packs now come with a full suite of TTS scripts, so you can use those as a basis for recording your own sounds. So for all those people who ask me, what are all the sounds? Can you give a script of what I need to follow? Well, they're all in the folders. Use them, take them, create your own sounds, create your own variations, and you should have a nice cabin crew simulation, which is what Self-Loading Cargo was supposed to be all about. And yeah, I'm quite excited to get this out to you, because when 1.6 releases, it's going to be sort of what I like to think of as a kind of a base level of interactivity. And what I'm going to do is, after the release, I'm going to concentrate on just doing iterative updates. Like I might release a different scenario for engine out procedure, or a different one for an emergency landing for whatever reason, and I'll just release those as updates, and the default sound packs will get updated. But if there are any sounds missing from your custom sound packs, Self-Loading Cargo will actually warn you. In fact, if I bring up the nasty settings screen, if I click close, because I've got the voices set here, it's going to warn me that there are some sounds missing. Your current sound setup is missing some files, so your experience may not be entirely optimum. Would you like to output a list of the files which are missing so you can create them? All that will do is that'll create a list of all the sound pack files that are missing from your sound pack, so that you can quickly and easily identify which ones need to be updated as I introduce new scenarios, if you're maintaining a voice pack or whatever of your own. So I've tried my best to make this as accessible as possible for people, and on that note, we do have this narration window here, and this is basically showing you everything that's been said. So if you are deaf, you can still see what's going on. You can put this wherever you like as well. So you can see, hi Captain, how long till we start boarding? We're not expecting boarding to happen for quite some time. Again, everything we went through previously. So if you don't understand what the text, what the voices are saying, then you can actually see a narrated update of what has been said, and you can follow along with what's going on the aircraft. All of these are accessible via voice as well if you're in voice mode. So if I say SLC cabin layout, SLC cabin layout, is that the right command? Sorry. SLC show cabin view, SLC show narration. No, that's the wrong command. SLC show narration window. There we go. SLC, what can I say? SLC, what can I say? SLC in-flight services. There we go. So it's all working. It's just the voice is only as good as Windows recognises. So if you have a heavy accent like me, you might have limited results. But if you speak Queen's English, or you're very good at speaking, unlike us Geordies, then you're going to have a good time. It seems to work quite well with me, even on the more convoluted announcements, which I will do in a separate video. I actually have no issue whatsoever with making them. It seems to recognise me even on sort of like 20-second announcements. So. And if not, like I say, you can go through and just use the buttons. But I look forward to releasing this to you. I know it's been a long time, and I appreciate the patience, and I appreciate all the criticism that keeps coming my way. It keeps me on my toes, but I am on it, and there are just a few little niggles really to kind of work out on the interface. But for now, that is SLC 1.6. I'll get it to you as soon as I possibly can. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you shortly.